Welcome to Infinite Business Dynamics. Most brilliant strategies look amazing on paper, but 67% of them fizzle out and never become reality. The real difference between a plan that dies and one that delivers real results is execution, the bridge that turns strategy into sustainable growth and impact. Today in Layer 7, Execution, I'm showing you exactly how to close that gap and turn your strategy into real-world results. Let's dive in.
You know the feeling, right? You've got this brilliant plan, a perfect strategy all laid out on paper, and then it just fizzles out. So why do some amazing ideas take off and soar while others never even get off the ground? Well, the answer comes down to one single powerful word: execution. This is the moment where theory gets real, and if you've ever felt that massive, frustrating gap between your plan and what actually gets done, you are in exactly the right place. Let's talk about how to finally build that bridge. Okay, just take a look at this number for a second. 67%. What do you think that is? Well, according to some really smart people and research from places like Harvard Business Review, that's the percentage of well-formulated strategies that totally fail. Let that sink in. 2 out of every 3 great plans just fall apart. And here's the crazy part. It's almost never because the idea was bad. Nope. It's because the follow-through, the actual execution, just crumbled.
And this massive failure to follow through, well, that's what we call the great execution gap. It's the silent killer of so many incredible strategies that just never see the light of day.
So what is this execution gap, really? The best way to think about it is like this. You have the perfect, detailed blueprint for a magnificent bridge, but nobody ever actually starts pouring the concrete. That gap? It's that empty space between the beautiful plan and the messy, real-world work. It's where all that initial excitement just evaporates and is replaced by confusion. And without a way to cross it, the best strategy in the world is, honestly, just a piece of paper.
But here's the good news. We can absolutely build that bridge. And the entire structure, the whole thing, rests on what we're going to call the 5 execution pillars. This right here, this is the blueprint we need to make it happen.
So here they are, the 5 pillars that are going to form our bridge. We're going to dig into how we spend our resources, who has crystal clear accountability, what our operating rhythm looks like, how our management systems actually support our goals, and then the big one, the glue that holds it all together, leadership and culture. Let's jump right in and tackle that first pillar. Okay, our first pillar is resource allocation, but I really want you to focus on that first word there, ruthless. Yeah, ruthless. That word alone is a total game changer.
Look, this has nothing to do with being cheap. It's all about being intensely, unapologetically focused. Every single dollar, every hour of your team's time, every ounce of energy has to be aimed directly at your core strategic goals. The rule is dead simple. If a project or task doesn't directly help you win, you have to be willing to kill it. That means saying no to all those little pet projects and distractions, so you can double down and pour everything you have into what actually moves the needle.
All right, let's nail down our second pillar, clear accountability. This is how we completely, totally eliminate the most dangerous phrase in business. Oh, I thought someone else was handling that.
And this is where a super simple tool called the RACI framework becomes your best friend. Let's break it down really quick. For any important task, you've got people who are responsible for doing the work, you have others you consult for their input, and people you just keep informed. But the magic, the most crucial letter here is A for accountable. That is the one person who is the ultimate owner. The buck stops with them. Just one. When you have that level of clarity, there's no confusion, no finger pointing, just action.
Okay, on to pillar number 3. Great execution needs a pulse. It needs a consistent, steady beat that everyone in the organization can feel. That's what we call the operating rhythm. And let's be super clear here. This is not about adding more meetings to the calendar. Please, no. It's about having a smart cadence of meetings. Think of it like this. You've got your weekly huddles. These are fast, they're tactical, and they're all about removing roadblocks. Then you have a monthly performance deep dive where you look at the hard data. Are we hitting our numbers? And finally, you have the quarterly strategy session. This is where you step back, look at the big picture, and ask, are we still on the right path? This rhythm keeps you managing the day-to-day chaos while also steering the ship in the right direction.
Pillar 4 is where the rubber really meets the road. We're talking about aligned management systems. Because let's just be honest with ourselves. What gets measured and what gets rewarded is what gets done. Period.
This is all about making sure that every system in your organization is pointing in the exact same direction. Think about it. Your dashboards, your bonus structures, your KPIs, your performance reviews, do they all reward the behaviors your strategy actually requires? If your big strategy is all about groundbreaking innovation, but you're only giving bonuses for cutting costs, your system is broken. You have to align what you measure and reward with what you say you want to achieve. When you get that right, execution stops being a struggle. It just becomes the natural way everyone operates. And that brings us to our fifth and final pillar. And this one isn't just another part of the system. It's the very atmosphere that everything else breathes in: leadership and culture. You've probably heard this quote a million times from the legend Peter Drucker, and there's a reason it's so famous, because it is 100% true. You can have the most brilliant strategy and the clearest roles on the planet, but if your culture is working against you, you are going absolutely nowhere. Culture is the ultimate enabler, or it's the ultimate blocker of execution.
And a culture of execution is built from the top down. For any leader, it really comes down to 3 non-negotiable actions. First, you have to live the behavior. People watch what you do, not just what you say. Second, you have to celebrate the right wins and celebrate them loudly. When someone does something that perfectly nails the strategy, you make a huge deal out of it. And third, you have to course correct fast. If something's happening that goes against the grain, you address it right away. That's how a powerful execution culture is built.
Okay, so we've got our 5 pillars. Awesome. But how do we stop them from just being nice ideas on a slide? We have to make them real, tangible. And we do that by building an execution playbook. So what is this playbook? Think of it as the ultimate source of truth for your entire team. It's the one single place anyone can go to understand exactly how we operate, what our top priorities are, and who is responsible for what. It's designed to completely eliminate confusion and replace it with absolute clarity. This playbook is where you bring all 5 pillars together into a living document. This is where you write down your rules for allocating resources. It's where your RACI accountability map lives. It's got the calendar for your operating rhythm, and it defines the core metrics and dashboards everyone looks at. It's the practical, day-to-day guide that guarantees everyone is playing from the same sheet of music. Now let's just take this one final, crucial step further. Because the real goal here isn't just to execute one plan perfectly one time. No. The best organizations in the world turn execution into a system for constant, intelligent evolution. The key to all of this is creating a super fast feedback loop. It's simple. You execute the plan, you measure the real-world results, you learn incredibly fast from that data, what worked, what didn't, and then use those insights to refine and improve the strategy. It's a powerful cycle of continuous improvement that makes the entire organization smarter and stronger with every single turn. And this slide really captures the whole shift in thinking. Over on one side, you've got the old mindset, the static plan. It's rigid, it's set in stone, you execute it once and hope for the best. But on the other side, you have a living system. It's flexible, it adapts with new data, and it literally evolves while you're winning. The goal isn't just to follow the plan anymore, it's to get better as you go. And there you have it. You can now see how execution is the final piece of a complete strategic operating system. It flows from your identity to your direction, to understanding reality, making a choice, and finally, to execution. This is the crucial last step that turns all that great thinking into tangible, real-world results. So as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with one question to think about. Looking at these 5 pillars we talked about, resources, accountability, rhythm, systems, and culture, what is your single biggest execution challenge right now? Because just answering that question honestly is the very first step to building your own bridge from a great idea to a real victory.
Learning reinforcement.
Upgrading your organizational OS.
You can design a perfect strategic plan with sound logic and clear goals, but the moment that plan makes contact with reality, it often dissolves. This chart represents the cost of that friction. Harvard Business Review and major studies confirm that 2 out of 3 well-formulated strategies fail to deliver. The problem is rarely a weak idea. It is a collapse in execution. Speed dies in the face of operational ambiguity. When leadership assumes the details will resolve themselves, or that someone will eventually handle the follow-through, the strategy stalls. Solving this requires a perspective shift. Execution is an active, mechanical operating system that must be built and maintained, not a passive phase that happens after the thinking is done. The first component of your operating system is ruthless resource allocation. Every dollar, every hour of your best talent, and every minute of leadership attention must flow strictly toward your where to play and how to win choices. If a project does not support those core choices, you cut the funding immediately. You have to eliminate nice-to-have distractions and double down on what actually creates your competitive edge. Unilever applied this by reevaluating the massive scale of physical goods moving through their global warehouses. They redirected billions of dollars away from legacy processes to fund specific, long-term sustainable sourcing partnerships. The second component is unambiguous accountability. Shared responsibility is a recipe for delay, and eliminating the "someone should do this" excuse is mandatory for speed. You fix this by implementing a RACI matrix. This tool establishes exactly one named owner per outcome by defining who decides, who executes, who advises, and who is informed. It removes all gray areas from the process. Without ruthlessly protected resources and absolute singular ownership, even the most brilliant strategy is starved of the fuel it needs to succeed. Continuous execution requires a steady, predictable heartbeat. We call this the operating rhythm. This chart outlines a specific cadence: weekly tactical huddles to clear immediate blockers, monthly deep dives to review performance, and quarterly resets to refresh the strategy. These weekly sessions act as a filter, catching small snags before they grow into irreversible strategic disasters. Next, you need the management systems to track your progress. These are the dashboards and tools that connect team metrics and financial rewards directly back to your strategic logic. You must track only the core metrics that drive your competitive edge, permanently discarding the legacy vanity metrics that offer no real insight into your success. Real-time metrics allow you to pivot when external volatility strikes. Whether it is sudden legislative changes or global logistics disruptions, the data tells you exactly how to adapt your tactics without losing your direction. When your rhythm and your systems are coded correctly, what gets measured and rewarded is exactly what gets executed by the team. These mechanical components exist within a broader environment, your organizational culture. Peter Drucker famously observed that culture eats strategy for breakfast. If the behavioral norms of your company conflict with your strategic plan, the culture will always win. Leaders maintain this environment through daily action. They must visibly model the behaviors they want to see, loudly celebrate wins that align with the strategy, and publicly correct misalignments as soon as they appear. Culture is the ultimate mechanical multiplier of an organization's execution power. To make this system functional, you combine your resource rules, RACI maps, rhythm calendar, and core metrics into one document, the Execution Playbook. This playbook is not a static document. It must act as a living organism capable of intelligent adaptation based on data from the field. This is the continuous execution loop. You execute the plan, measure the real results, learn from the data, and refine the strategy for the next cycle. This feedback loop completes the strategic operating system, integrating execution seamlessly with your identity, direction, and choices. You can begin building your own OS today. Start your playbook. Mastering this disciplined system builds an evolutionary edge that sustains victory long after the initial goals are met.